The conversation you are about to hear was recorded in 2020 during the height of the global pandemic. And now, Global Comedy Studios presents, Is This a Bad Time to Talk?
Kevin, hi. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Kevin McDonald. Is this a bad time to talk?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've never heard your podcast, only because I've never heard any podcast. It's not that I single your podcast out. Are we supposed to say yes and then keep talking, or say no, then hang up? I don't know.
I don't know, Kevin. I don't know if it's a podcast because I'm on a phone and, and it's the virus. It's April 22nd, Wednesday, I believe, 2020, in the middle of a global pandemic, and I felt like I had to do something. So I know what time it is and what day it is. So if nothing else happens, that's good. If nothing else, Kevin, I've given you the day and time, so you know where it is. Where am I talking to you from? Where are you right now? Oh, by the way, I just have to say this.
Yes.
I have to say this. This call is being recorded on a phone, so I want to make you aware of that. Are you cool with that?
Yes. You've called in to complain to me, and later when I play this to my employers, they'll know that if I handled you, if you had a bad temper, if I handled you well. That's
right. It's for quality purposes, Kevin. I am just making this phone call, recording it, and it will be posted, but for quality purposes.
I understand. And if you have a temper tantrum, I will handle you well.
Thank you. And also, are you cool with this being brought to you by Fresca? Now, again, I have no deal with Fresca, but I'm enjoying it during the pandemic.
Well, I can tell that you're enjoying it so much. Fresca should make a deal with you.
So tell me where you are, Kevin. Where am I talking to you? Where are you in space and time? If I had to beam me up Scotty you, where would that be?
I'm in the eighth dimension of, even though I live in Winnipeg, I am not at home. I am in Toronto and have been in Toronto since February 23rd.
Wow, where in Toronto? Like, are you in a bedroom? Are you in a closet? Where am I talking to you right now?
I am in an apartment building. Yes. Bring you in. You're right. And believe me, I know you want the details, but I think it's good to do it in a teasy kind of way. Set up a mystery, solve the mystery later during the phone conversation. So I'm going to answer your questions directly without telling you whys, and I'll let you, if you're interested, figure out and get the deeper story of it. But to answer your question, yes?
No,
yes.
I'm just laughing. Kevin, you're a funny guy, Kev. You're a funny, good guy. Gosh, you are a funny, good guy.
We've taken many Ubers together.
I know. But I don't
like the group Uber, though. I don't like the group Uber when someone else came in the car and he was mildly racist. Maybe it's more than me.
I vaguely remember that. I vaguely remember.
He was mildly racist.
God,
somehow he talked about the Yankees, but not in a racist manner. I am in an apartment building, a 2-bedroom apartment building with a living room and a kitchen, and I was lucky that I got an office. I have 2 bathrooms. I only use one. There's a little bit of a patio. It's not that I'm afraid of heights, but I'm afraid if I go out there, I'll drop my phone, which is always in my hand. So I open the door for air, but I don't go out in the patio a lot.
Okay. Also, I wanted to say, there's no time. We don't have to. We got a couple of hours, so.
Good to know.
There's not a speed. There's no speed round. It's just literally.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's easy. I think people may be wondering what I'm doing not at home in Toronto since February 23rd. Maybe you're interested in that. Maybe you're not. We'll find out.
Well, are you in Toronto by yourself? How'd you end up in Toronto during the pandemic?
Okay, well, this answers the big question. The Kids in the Hall, the comedy troupe that I haven't been kicked out of yet, we're doing a new TV show for Amazon. Is it called TV when it's not a network? What's it called these days? You're a young kid. What do you kids call it?
I call it a TV phone.
Okay, it's a TV show then. For series. I think they're just using the word series. Who knows? And so we were here. Our mission was to write for 7 weeks, and we started just when things were getting bad. I was never leaving the building anyway because the writing room was in the building, and people who didn't live in Toronto, like Dave Foley and myself, we were put into the building. And then, on the 9th floor, we had our separate apartments. I'm still there. And then on the 14th floor was the writer's room, and we did that for 2 weeks. Us and our writer friends that write with us. And then things got worse, so then we started staying in our apartment. Video conference calls, but we kept writing, and we finished either write alone or during video conference calls. We finished our writing period, but I'm still here. Maybe you're interested to know why, maybe you're not. We'll see how the conversation goes. It's over, and I'm still here. I'm not home with my family in Winnipeg.
Again, we're going to be doing this for a couple of hours.
I know. That's why I'm not telling you everything now. Oh, God, I hope you're kidding. Yeah.
So wait a minute. This is great news, though. The Kids in the Hall are doing a show for Amazon. This is great. I didn't know about this. And you're in Toronto. How many episodes?
8 episodes. And for people who are a Kids in the Hall fan, you don't have to be, Ollie. Of course, you get ready to be disappointed. It'll be good for men almost 60, but it won't be certainly as good as our work in the 90s. We were young men then. We were at our peak. So come on, get serious. You're going to be disappointed.
Well, I mean, I think you're fine wines. You guys have aged well, and now it's time to, revisit some of the, the stories and characters. I think it's wonderful. So
a lot of the sketches, because it happened during this, a lot of the sketches are about loneliness and isolation.
Yes, yes. Every
comedy, but
I'm sorry, I was going to say, part of the AKA for this podcast was also podcast. It's just a phone call. Who am I kidding? But I mean, it was going to be called "I'm Here to Listen." So basically, the goal was throughout the conversation, there were times where I wanted the other person to go, "Hello, are you still there?" And I'd say, "I'm here to listen."
Like a therapist, only on the phone. A bad therapist who doesn't want to meet people and does it on the phone.
That's right. And he makes them lets them sit there for a while wondering if the person has been cut off.
Yes. And then like a real therapist, I would keep talking. Well, I guess you're saying, and solve my own problems.
Yes. The answers are within.
Yes. And how much are you? $3.50 an hour. Jeez. What was the last thing we said? I forget. The loneliness and isolation. I have a lot of scenes about a guy alone in an apartment, and those are the ones of mine that have made the show so far. It's all comedy, all out comedy, but loneliness and isolation. Like, for example, my for the first 2 weeks, my bath and my water, the water in my bath was lukewarm. So I wrote a scene called Lukewarm because they kept sending repair people. And I wrote a scene where I find out the repair guy, well, I think the water's hot because I'm away at work. And then he gets in the bath for an hour and a half and he makes it cold. And when I get back, and then we end up taking a bath together. Scenes like that. Are you still there?
I'm here to listen, Kevin.
There, we did it!
We did it. We did one.
We did one.
I've only got to do 3. That's all. Rule of 3s, Kevin. I mean, even though the show is called "Is This a Bad Time to Talk?" I still like to get that "I'm here to listen" in there.
I understand. I
love how you're putting a frame around it. Lukewarm water, a bathtub, boom, you got a sketch.
Yeah. Yeah. I also have a scene because I have 2 cats back home in Winnipeg, where a guy I've transplanted as a guy who lives alone in his apartment again, and one day I'll be home, and he figures out that his 2 cats are planning to kill him. Things like that. Are you still there?
I am. I'm here to listen.
I did it too early. Sorry.
But Kevin, I love specificity. So I want to know the type of cats and the name of the cats.
I don't know the type of cat. A black cat and a gray cat. I love them. They're newish. Bentley and Oakley. And I think they play all day or fight all day. I'm not sure. And we also have a dog named Alaska. I have not seen him since February 22nd. I hope they remember me. It's a big dog. I hope she doesn't bite me. Sorry, you were about to say something. Why?
But you've been away for 2 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's over. I'm still here.
wait a minute. You're done with the process of writing the show,
Yes.
the 8 episodes. You haven't shot them, though, yet, have you?
No, we were going to shoot starting mid-May. We were going to rush it before Mark McKinney goes back to Superstore, and Bruce McCullough is executive producing a Canadian sketch show of young people called Tall Boys. But now everything's delayed, so we don't know when we'll get to shoot it because Mark's got to do Superstore and stuff like that. So I have no idea. It could be a year. Who knows?
Okay. All right. But, I mean, the 8 half-hour episodes have been written, basically.
They've been written, but I write nowadays from 1 to 5 every day until the Donald Trump press conferences, which I look for comedy inspiration. And I'm writing 3 movies, and every now and then I write another sketch. I'm sure a lot of the sketches will change. There's a lot of sketches of mine that weren't picked that I think we'll be fighting and changing that for the next little while until we start doing a show.
Now, did you say you were writing 3 movies?
Yeah, I'm probably overambitious, but I figure if I just was writing one, I get bored and I get excited to switch. So I work on 2 projects today. Today, when I get off the phone with you, it's going to be finish off a sketch I started yesterday, and then a superhero movie I'm writing, which sounds stupid, except it's about a normal guy that doesn't have any superpowers. But it's not a parody.
Okay, all right. That's cool, man. I mean, the drive you have. I mean, the drive, it's amazing. 2 different...
I'm a little stir crazy.
Wow, man. Wow. So, I mean, is there anybody left there from the Kids in the Hall to hang out with, or they're all gone?
Well, Bruce lives here, and he visits me once a week. He was going to visit me on Monday, and I told him not to come because my nose was running. I was pretty sure it was allergies, and it turned out to be allergies. But now he's showing me. He probably won't come till another week. Scott also lives here, and he wants me to visit him all the time and walk in the park. It sounds like a death trap. So I'm staying here. Okay, I'll tell you why. The reason I'm staying here in Toronto is because I'm a coward. I have asthma, and they have the apartment till May 10th anyway. For some reason, they booked it later than they needed be, and so I'm going to stay here to May 10th. Then I go to Winnipeg, but even when I go to Winnipeg on May 10th, I'm not going to stay with my family. I'm going to self-isolate for 2 weeks at Airbnb. I'm a coward asthmatic, and you got it out of me. That's why I'm still here.
That's the power of listening. When you listen,
yes,
people give it up. They give it up, Kev.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're in Toronto until May 10th, and then back to Winnipeg. But I mean, look, one of the things about this, look, if anybody wants to look up, Kids in the Hall or podcast about that, they can do that. This is just talking to old friends who I've come across and seeing how they're doing, during the pandemic.
Many Ubers.
And only a few slightly racist.
Only a few slightly racist. Yes.
And then, it seems like you're living the dream. I mean, what would your dream? I mean, what would your dream situation be? I mean, the other guys are doing their thing, and maybe we'll talk to them somewhere down the line. But
that'd be nice.
What would your dream be? Like,
I could hook you up.
Yeah,
my
that'd be
dream?
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hook you up. At least with a nice one, Dave Foley. Oh, well, Scott Thompson's also nice. What do you think about the other 2? They're nice in their own way. Dream situation in this. I mean, my dream in this situation of our COVID-19 situation. What would be my dream?
I mean, like your career, your life, or I mean, if you had unlimited wealth, you didn't have to work, but you'd still. What would you want to do? What would your days look like? Where would you live? How would you live? What would you be eating? Take me through a dream day. Like, fade in on just kind of like a hazy kind of like, glow kind of camera lens. And then you are, what does it look like? It's the morning on.
In a non-virus world?
Yes. In a non-virus, the virus is gone. You're back at it. Everybody is safe and everybody is better and happier and no one has to worry about masks or social distancing. Where are you living and what does your life look like in terms of career and life?
Well, it depends on what time of the year. depends on what time of the year.
Let's make it your favorite time of the year.
Okay, let's say it's spring. Let's say I've just finished the movie that I wrote and produced it. I probably don't have the eye to direct, and give myself a second or third lead. And now I'm working on my next movie. I'm living with my wife. My stepchildren in their 20s have finally realized they should move out. So I see them once a week. I write 3 or 4, sort of like now, 3 or 4 hours. Have fun with the family nights every now and then. But then in 3 or 4 months after that, we shoot the movie that I'm writing. And then after the editing process, we go to some Caribbean island that hasn't been destroyed. And we're there for like a month. And then I go back and I write my next movie. And the process goes on. That would be my dream. Are you there?
I'm here to listen.
Well done. Well done.
But you know what's interesting? How come you're still number 3 or 4 on the call sheet if this is your fantasy? You want to be 3 or 4 on the call sheet? Or do you want to be 1 or 2?
2 or 3.
Okay, I mean, we got it up a little bit, but I mean, you know, it's interesting. Well, no, fantasy.
Well, my fantasy is realistic. I was never on the call sheet in my 20s and 30s. 40s, I was the best friend of Mike Myers in my fantasy. And then now I'm the uncle of the 3 leads that I've written about in my family. I'm realistic. Even when I have sex fantasies, I stop and go, no, she wouldn't like me. I can never meet her. No, okay, someone else. You got to put realism in your fantasies to make them seem, that they could. It's only really exciting if they're doable. I can't be making out with Elizabeth Taylor in 1958. It just would never happen.
Right. No, I hear you. You know, I mean, but I also I want you to dream. I mean, do you like the life that, of the sitcom world where you're doing something like, the Superstore, or do you prefer a movie life where you're making 1 or 2 movies a year? You mentioned the Caribbean. I mean, what would be the ideal? Because look, you got the skills to pay the bills. You're a funny guy. You've got adult skills to pay adult bills. You are a known commodity. You are a member of the Kids in the Hall, a storied, legendary sketch comedy group. You are a fine wine coming of age, right?
Yes.
And I mean, but do you prefer the sitcom, 9 months of working, 3 months off, or however the modern sitcom works? Or, because I remember when I came and saw you guys when you were on tour in New York. That was fun.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good life too. I mean, that's fun. To add to my dream, the Monty be more Monty Python. It should be that the movie Brain Candy would have been a bit of a hit, and instead of touring every 4 or 5 years, that's the B version of the Monty Python blueprints. It would be a movie every 3 or 4 years, and that would be mixed up with my dream. It's always movies. I try to do TV show things because agents think that's easier, but to work 9 months and 3 months, and I also want to create them, and I've sold a few things that have never been produced. But my dream would be more movie oriented. And I feel like Albert Brooks, who worked a little harder than Albert Brooks. He would do broadcast news and he would do his next movie, only they were always like 4 years apart. I would squeeze that to like 1 year apart. 1 year be in a movie that I didn't write, and then the year after that be in a movie that I wrote as the uncle of Seth Rogen or whatever it is. My dreams are always movie career oriented.
I like that. I mean, we're getting to something here. We're getting to the fact that, look, you want to be in a movie a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. At least, or 1.5. When I'm dead, I want the average to be. He did exactly 1.5. The professor who will be at my funeral with Erwin Corey hair will be saying he did exactly 1.5 movies a year, and they'll say, who invited him to the funeral? That's my dream.
That's right. And then it's revealed that you are the professor.
Exactly.
That
which I am slowly getting to look like. Yes.
And that
I've been doing things like going online and seeing things. Was Professor Erwin Corey funny? And so I've been seeing him on YouTube, and I still don't know. I still don't have an opinion whether he was funny. He just said weird stuff. He was interesting, or was he boring? What do you think about Professor Erwin Corey?
Wait a minute. The gentleman who was on the Letterman show a lot?
Was he? I think maybe he was in the beginning. But he was on TV in the 60s. He was on Mike Douglas.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it took less back then. You know, if you could talk out loud in front of people, you know.
Yes.
I think we take for granted the magic trick that a lot of people have nowadays. There's a lot of people who can just talk out loud and say stuff. People have gotten good. They've gotten good at that. But back then, I think it was a bigger deal to stand out from a crowd and just be able to say and do anything. You know, you put on a wig, you're starting talking, you've got a shtick, you got a character. It's like the movie Funny Bones. But then it happened in terms of people started taking classes and improv and acting classes, and everyone started doing it. And then they realized, oh, a lot of us can just say stuff out loud. Is it funny? I don't know. Yes, and every successful comedian's fallback is a talk show, like Ellen DeGeneres a few years ago, and even Norm McDonald. It's a good fallback. I'm not big enough, nor can I talk like that. I can talk, I just don't listen, as this phone conversation is proving it. Sorry, podcast conversation. Sorry. Well, we're two guys talking, right? You know, and that's it. And I just tried to catch you at a time where it's not a bad time for you to talk, right? So it wasn't a bad time. I don't want to find someone where they're like, look, this is a bad time to talk. And my sketch about the banana demon can wait. Right. My sketch is waiting for me. This is a good time to talk. I mean, you know, because otherwise, you know, I mean, and look, in the pandemic was like, I was going through, you know, some pictures. I found a picture of us when Wallace Shawn. I mean, remember what that thing you did with Wallace Shawn when you were doing this, when you were doing your variety show in New York? That was fun. Yes. You were great. Is that the time I almost knocked your eye out? I'm sorry. Yeah, but I mean, I forget. It's amazing. Your memory is amazing because I forget anything that has been done to me that was like an affront to me. You know, I kind of let that go. It was clumsiness. It wasn't on purpose. Right. Like, I even kind of forgot the slightly racist guy in the Uber, but, you know, I'll take your word for it. Like, you don't remember him at all? Like, he was talking about the Yankees and something, and then I forgot how he got into the racist diatribe. And then you and I were smart and clever enough that we did this. Because we were afraid of him physically because he was a big man, we talked to him in a way that he thought we were like being friendly with him, but we knew that we were smart assholes and we were making fun of him. We tread that line. You don't remember that? Vaguely. I mean, hopefully we were being ironically racist and not really racist. But I mean, you know. No, we weren't being racist at all. Like the conversation has shifted, but we had stopped liking him at that point. So we found a clever level of conversation where we knew we were making fun of him, and he thought we were supporting him and whatever he was saying about the Yankees. I see. Well, I mean, that seems like a good sketch to write up to. I mean, you know, that seems like something. But I mean, is it locked down? The 8-episode half hours, are the sketches all locked down and just ready to be? You know? Well, we gave them an order. We gave them 8 episodes. They've never done a sketch show before Amazon. They're very excited about it. And they're very nice, but they don't know how to do it. So they wanted to see the episodes pretty quickly. So we lumped a bunch of scenes together, and we were upfront about it. We were saying, this will probably change, which meant in our minds, this is going to change. So we gave it to them, and we're all taking it seriously and pretending that that's the order. But I'm sure it's going to change. I'm sure scenes are going to drop out, and I'm going to be pushing to get some of my scenes that I think should be in, and everyone's going to be like that. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one writing a sketch or two during this time. But I guess it's a good way to start. At least we have a fake scene order to look at and say, well, why don't we take this out and put this back in? I don't know if that was your question, but it was interesting to me. Now, talk me through a little bit of how do you guys go about getting an Amazon? You know, if anybody actually listens to this, I think what they'd be curious about is, you know, not because of you, because of me and my own failings. But and I won't help. I won't help your failings. I won't help. But how does it go about where you guys get this deal with Amazon? Like, who starts it? Who contacts you? Who do you have contact them? Because, I mean, you're talking about getting the 4 of you at a minimum, and then you guys probably have other writers or core members of Kids in the Hall. We do have core. Gary Campbell and Norm Hiscock. They're our age, and they were in the troupe before. We were the Kids in the Hall,
and then they dropped out. And Norm was married and had to get a job, and Gary was hired as a writer. So during the TV show years in the 90s, they were writers, and they still worked on this show. And Amazon was interested in young, diverse writers, so we had a few young, diverse people, and that was fun. And so I just saw them in video conferencing after that. But yeah, what was your original question? Because I had a good answer, but now I forgot.
Why? Yeah, that's okay. But it's like I'm just.
Oh, how did we get the Amazon show? I'll remember that.
Yeah.
You know, the conversation is moving. Okay. If you ask Dave Foley, he would start, which I think is in part 2 of the story. I think there's a part 1 of the story that people don't know about, and maybe I'm glorifying myself, but to me, the story starts 3 or 4 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. No, 4 years. Who cares, Kevin? 3.5 years ago. I was doing my workshops. I did at Your Wonderful Theater, and hopefully we'll do again. I was going to Fort Myers, Florida. And a few days before that, someone called me in my home in Winnipeg, which I hope I will see again 2 weeks after May 10th. And I was in a weird mood, and I was bored of doing interviews. And they asked me about the Kitchen Hall. Are we going to do something again? And I lied. And I said, I don't know why I did. I said, yeah, Lorne Michaels is interested in getting us another TV show. Because I had been saying to Dave on the phone a few weeks earlier than Dave Foley, we have so many new sketches from because we wrote new sketches for our tours over the years. We have so many new sketches already. We should do a TV show. So I just lied to this reporter. It was Fort Myers, Florida. I guess I don't really understand how social media works, and it blew up, and everyone started calling out the Kids in the Hall for the new show that we were doing with Lorne Michaels. And I think subconsciously that dug into Dave. And now part 2 of the story, Dave's part 1 of the story, is Dave got his agent to start checking around, asking Lorne Michaels if he wanted to produce another show, another Kids in the Hall show, and started asking if networks wanted it. And it took a couple years. There were a few other nominees that were also equally as exciting as Amazon, and then it narrowed down to Amazon, and then it really happened. The virus hit. And so that's my version of the story. Are you listening?
I'm here to listen.
Oh, I shouldn't use the word listening. I'm sorry. It's already there. I'm sorry.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it started out with a little white lie. Let's just call it a little white lie. Or maybe a visualization. Maybe you planted a seed of some kind.
Yes.
You know,
well, that's what I think subconsciously I was doing. Except I didn't really think that because in my mind it was Fort Myers. Like consciously I was thinking no one will catch me. It's Fort Myers. No offense, Fort Myers. I love Fort Myers. But maybe subconsciously I was thinking maybe I am planting a visualization seed, and the visualization tree will grow out of this.
That's pretty amazing. The fact that like that thing you did led to you guys all getting some work and getting to work together.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it ended up being over like computer screens, video conferencing, but yes. I never saw Mark because Mark came 2 weeks late because he was finishing Superstore, so I only saw Mark on the video screen. He never was there for the salad weeks of the first 2 weeks when we were in the writers' room.
So there was a period of time where you were actually in the room together.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And it's funny because they kept wanting more diverse young writers, so and I'm claustrophobic, and it was a smaller room than the apartment they put me in, and I think, oh God, there's going to be too many people. But then it turned out great. The video conferencing split the screen into like 12 parts, and we'd have a pitch meeting at 11 in the morning. We'd hear everyone's pitches. They were all great. And then the Kids in the Hall would just pick our own ideas. We would start then we'd write them in the afternoon. Every 2 days, we had a 3 p.m. read-through. We read the ideas, and then there'd be notes. And in the 90s, we were very mean to each other with the notes. But now we're older, so we're not as mean. And also, there were all the young people on the video conferencing during the notes, also giving notes, and we didn't want them to think that we were assholes. So it was much nicer than the 90s.
Now, so is Lorne involved with the show or no?
He is. I'm sorry, I didn't really complete the story. He is. He and his company, as you know, his company, Broadway Video, they're producing it again, just like the old show.
Wow, that's great, man. So wait, Foley's agent is the one who contacted Amazon.
Well, his agents started the ball, and then Bruce's agents got in on it, and they were contacting everybody. And at one point, everybody in the world said they were interested, and then that weeded down to people that were more realistic about it, and that got weeded out. So there was more people, and there were like 2 nominees, Amazon and someone else. I won't tell you, but they're huge. And then it became Amazon.
That's kind of a magical story, man.
Yeah, but then the virus hit.
And the virus hit. Right. But the virus just puts you in a holding pattern. But you've gotten a chance.
Yes, I know the holding pattern. Like we're pessimistic people, and even though we're pessimistic people, we think it's going to be okay because we're going to be Amazon's Canadian flagship show. So it seems like they're stuck with us. So as long as people do start filming things again, I think we're okay.
And will it be filmed in Canada?
Yes, in Toronto. We were going to have a month off. This would have been our month off. I was going to do Shakespeare in the Park in another place in Florida, Tallahassee. And then we were going to come back from mid-May to, the early July, and then we were going to film it. That was the original plan.
Which Shakespeare play were you doing?
I've never done Shakespeare either. I still memorize it. It's been delayed to a year, they say. So I have a year to memorize it. 12th night, I'm going to be Malvolio.
Wow, man. How did that come about?
They just asked me. Well, every year they get a minor celebrity, someone they can afford, who they think can bring people to the crowd. They'll be disappointed about that later when I do it. But and so you asked me. Last year it was remember Mark Singer?
Yeah.
Mark Singer from V. And something about Joey and or something special for Joey. That was his big TV movie. And Beastmaster, Mark Singer. But his big thing was the TV miniseries V about the aliens, where it was lizard people dressed as human beings.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought you would know. Anyway, he was Macbeth last year.
Okay.
And they got me as Malvolio this year, or I guess now next year.
If you could do me a favor, and regardless, just call it the Scottish play, just because, look,
but we're not in the theater. We're on phones. I'm in a park. Well, I guess I'm in my writing office, and I guess that's the theater. All right, the Scottish play.
Of sorts, yeah. So Tallahassee, you were going to be in Tallahassee, and you were going to be doing 12th Night. Wow, man, wow.
And apparently there was a tornado there last week. And also apparently it's like it is outside in the park, and there's a train that goes by once afternoon for 10 minutes every afternoon, and sometimes it comes during the play, and you just have to stop for 10 minutes.
Oh, for 10 minutes. Wow, I would say, as a director, I would just keep saying, use it, guys.
Does train make noise? Yeah, you can't even ad-lib Shakespeare. That's the bad thing about Shakespeare. You can't ad-lib it. People will know he didn't say "Does train make noise?" Shakespeare didn't write that.
Right. So okay. Well, look. You constantly. It seems like you. Look. You seem happy. You seem like you're.
Well, Ali, I'm a loner. I'm a loner. So the other kids are worried about me because I'm the most alone. The Scott's pretty alone. He adopted 2 cats over the phone a few weeks ago. And people don't worry about Scott for some reason. They're worried about me. But I'm naturally a loner. I check in with my family every day in Winnipeg, and they're good. I miss my pets. I hope they remember me. But again, basically being a loner and a routine. I find a routine is important when you're alone. You're, of course, with your family.
Yeah, we're making do with the pandemic in New York. But what's your routine like in Winnipeg?
In Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really have one. Like, I guess a more family version of this. I'd wake up in the morning. I'd drive somebody somewhere. Maybe Paula, my partner, she's a dancer and she teaches. Or sometimes they're doing a production, so I drive her or one of the kids somewhere so I can have a car to do whatever chores. I'd go to the gym, which is not my apartment. I run here every morning in my apartment. I would do things for the house and walk the dogs, and then I would do a version of what I do now. From like 12 or 1 to 5 or 6, I'd go upstairs, third floor office, and I would write. And then at nighttime, family stuff, dinner, fun, sometimes a movie. And then I would watch whatever, before I went to bed, around 10 p.m., I would watch whatever sports, that I recorded that day. Usually the Raptors or perhaps the Tottenham Spurs, the British Premier League, or the Maple Leafs, the teams of my choice.
So, I mean, you're a family man.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm also a loner, so I'm doing fine. I realize now that I'm talking to you, and I haven't talked to someone in a few days because my family's up in a cottage in northern Manitoba, and I realize I'm a little stir crazy because I have more franticness to me than I thought I did when I'm alone, and I don't have to measure myself by talking to anyone because I don't talk to anyone. Even the sentence is too rambling, getting across the fact that I understand that I'm a little stir crazy.
That's all right. I'm happy to listen,
That's a version of it.
It's a version. It's not I'm here to listen, but I mean, I enjoy listening to you talk, and you've got one of those, funny minds and fast minds. And so, I'm happy.
But when we did that festival together in North Carolina, you were the star. You were amazing. The thing? Remember the thing that we ended the thing with, where a bunch of us were in the dark doing a radio play? I fell asleep, but every now and then I was waking up by the laughs that you got, and I'm not even lying. That's a true story. Because remember, it was midnight. It was after midnight. I remember falling asleep on stage in front of the audience because the lights were out, and there'd be a big laugh, and then I could sort of see where you were, and it was obvious that you had said the joke. I remember that totally.
Well, you got a phenomenal memory because I don't even remember that. I don't even remember that moment in time. Do you remember, do you have like a vivid memory that you remember the journey you took with your comedy and the kids in the hall, and moments that were like, these really stand out as visceral, vibrant moments of joy? What would be like a handful of those that
Well, let's start with one. I thought I went right away and see if you want a handful after that. By the way, the kids in the hall always say to reporters, ask Kevin, he'll remember. And that's why the guy who wrote our book, Paul Myers, who you probably know, he talked to me a lot. Here's one story that stands out as a good moment for the kids in the hall. I'll try to keep it short. It's not a funny story because you wanted Watershed, but it's kind of nice. This is when we were a stage group in the Rivoli. Gary and Norm and other guys, Frank had quit. The women in the troupe were discovered right away because women in the 80s was even more rare than it is now. So it's less rare now, but it's still not equal, I think. I don't know. And so it was Dave Foley, myself, Bruce McCullough, and Mark McKinney. And for some reason, we wanted a fifth person. I guess we were thinking Python, if you don't count Terry Gilliam. And Dave and I had a few nominees. One of them was Mike Myers, but he was too good and ambitious, and he moved to London. We had another guy named Tim Sims. And Mark McKinney was obsessed with this guy, Scott Thompson, who seemed crazy to us, charming and likable and real, soulful, and funny in a different way. Like, he wasn't like a comedian. He was just funny. He was like the life of the party. He was weird and funny. But we didn't think that he'd be right. But he kept coming to our Monday shows. We did Monday shows for a couple of years before Lorne Michaels discovered us. And he just kept coming. And you could tell that Dave and I, we were nice to him, but that we didn't want him in the troupe. And we always started our shows. Our theme song back in those days was the Who song, The Kids Are All Right. So you have to know that for the story. So then we did new sketches every Monday, but we always put 2 improvs in. So Scott and I were doing an improv. And with Scott, you never knew. Scott's everything. He could be brilliant. He could be horrible. He could be smart. He could be dumb. He's everything. And him and I did an improv that was great. It was amazing. And it went on forever, and it kept getting better and better. And it seemed like we had chemistry. And then we finished the improv, and then we finished the show. And then Dave came to me right after the show in our little dressing room. Scott wasn't there, and he said, Dave and I can read each other's minds. And he looked at me, and I nodded. I knew what he meant. And then we found Scott in the alley, and we started singing to him, "The kids are all right, and he started crying, knowing that meant that we had accepted him. That's my story.
Wow. So you and Dave and McCullough were already a group, and Scott was coming around, and wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
If you're a Kid in the Hall fan, that's interesting. I don't know if it'll help the ratings of your podcast, but if you're a Kid in the Hall fan,
what if I told you there was no podcast and it was just me talking to you during the pandemic? Would you be okay with that?
I'd be okay with that. I pretend a lot of things. When I saw it last night, a Canadian TV station showed the whole 3 hours of Game 3 Stanley Cup between the Leafs and the Canadiens from 1959, and I pretended that it was real, and I didn't know what had happened. And I saw Rocket Richard, and it was like it was happening now. Rocket was a player now, so I can pretend that this is a real podcast.
Okay, because I mean, if under the guise of a podcast sponsored by Fresca, something that I can, again, I have no deal with Fresca, but I'm really enjoying them and lentils during the pandemic. But I don't know who I talk to about lentils.
You'd have to pick the right, a specific lentil company. You and the specifics.
Right. I mean, it's an apocryphal story, but apparently Napoleon's troops survived off a handful of lentils a day, but I digress. But if there was no podcast and it was just you and me talking on the phone, would that be okay?
Yes, it would be. Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's a beautiful story. See, there's so much of what you're saying to me, and again, I don't, have any kind of green light ability, but You in Winnipeg to me is a story. Maybe that's a reality show of following you around in Winnipeg. I mean, I think that's something, I don't know, I think this.
Well, I did pitch a TV show. I did pitch a TV show with Kelly Macon, the director of the Kids in the Hall, directed some of our films, sketches, and of course Brain Candy. He and I, it was called Big Fish, about a comic. This is a true story. That moved from Los Angeles to Winnipeg because he fell in love with a woman. So we did like a written scripted show, and then we also thought, is it a reality show then? But nobody in Canada was interested.
Okay. But it would be interesting if, and don't take this the wrong way, but if you cast younger folks to portray the story you just told me, but you guys are still there as yourselves older, but watching
yes.
With these younger versions of yourself, because it's really, it's a funny, poignant, beautiful story of a moment, with you and Foley and Thompson and Scott, where you're just like, yeah, this guy, he's the fourth one to make us a family, because without four, it's not, you can't have a circle with three. You need four to make a circle.
What did Jeff Tweedy say to one of the guys he fired from Wilco? He said to the guy, "You're talking too much." And the guy that was fired said, "Well, they said there was no leader in Wilco." And then Jeff Tweedy said, I remember this was in a documentary about them. What did he say? He said, "Oh yeah." The guy who was being fired said, "I thought you said we were a circle." And then Jeff Tweedy said, "Well, every circle has a center."
I saw Tweedy. I saw him in North Carolina, and I was like, that dude with a guitar and a packed, it was called the Haw River Ballroom in Haw River, but it was just him and his guitar. I think he had some other folks up there, but it was amazing. I was like, and I had not seen, them and didn't know. I mean, I knew a little bit about Wilco, but it was one of those things.
Did you see the tour where he went with him and the guitar was a drummer? That was I saw that in the early 2000s. That was pretty great. Just him, a guitar, and I think the Wilco drummer.
Wow, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
very
it was.
cool to see. That's a great story, man. And what about a story from childhood where you knew you were a funny guy? I mean, you're a funny guy. You're naturally funny. You got funny bones. So was there a moment where I mean, and maybe some of it is through, nurture, but I think there's a natural funniness to you. But was there a moment where someone was like, yeah, you're funny, or you felt like, yeah, I can make people laugh, I have something? Or
there was a moment there. There was a moment. But first I want to say I feel that nature has to be nurtured. As you know, I always compare life to Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player ever, the most famous Canadian ever. At 12, he was already famous in Canada. Everyone already knew he was going to be the best hockey player ever, but he worked harder than everybody else. So I think nature has been, that's what I'm comparing to me. I didn't work, how hard can you work in comedy? But yes, there is a story. The story is in grade 3. I was living in Rexdale, Ontario. a suburb right next to Toronto, and we, in our English class, we were to write a 3-page story and to read it in front of the class. And then I wrote a 3-page story about my vacation in Bahamas, highlighting the funny hijinks that when I played golf with my dad, I was supposed to be driving the golf cart, and I drove in the lake. And anyway, I was reading this in front of the class, and it got lots of laughs, like way lots of laughs. But that wasn't the moment, though. Ollie, that wasn't the moment where I thought I was a comedian. I just thought, I'm a writer. And then a month later, we were supposed to do another story, and I thought, well, I'd written my comedy. I was a movie buff already. Why don't I write my Alfred Hitchcock thriller now? So I made up a story about someone trying to kill someone for insurance money. Not that I knew how insurance money worked. And so during the day, in the class, when it was my turn to walk up to the front of the class, and I was sitting in the back, not because I was cool, just because I was sitting in the back. When they called me to the front so I could read my story, when I passed everybody, they were all whispering, "Oh, it's Kevin. It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny. Oh, I can't wait for this." And then I thought I was going to disappoint them. So when I turned around, when I was in front and I turned to them, I pretended to read, but I made up a story because I was also in a house football league, and there was a lot of funny stuff I could talk about then. And I improvised a story that sort of made sense of a story and got even more laughs than the last time. And they laughed hard and they applauded, which they never did. So as I walked back to my chair in the back, I'll never forget this. I remember thinking, I guess I'm a comedian.
You thought that to yourself?
I thought that. Sadly, and I still think that when I get ideas that, like I have an idea about a general in the Civil War, I like to write about him because I also like history. But then I say to myself, I said in grade 3, no, Kevin, you can't write that. That's serious. I guess you're a comedian. I say that all the time, and it always makes me a little sad. I'm just a comedian. I wanted to be a writer.
I mean, I also think there's a graphic novel in here, Kev, of your stories like that. You know? I mean, at least an e-book.
I guess that's where it's down to. Yeah. Well, also, I have lots of funny stories with my drunk dad that I've told too many times. I always thought a comic book about a kid with a chubby kid with a drunk dad. Oh, that's a good name for it. Chubby kid with a drunk dad. let's do a comic book called that.
Chubby kid with a drunk dad is a great title.
Chubby kid with it is. Yeah. Well, maybe you know what? Maybe I'll do that. I'll give you some percentage of it because I thought of it in front of you. We thought of it together. Really. Actually, you're the one that started. I'll get you a big percentage. I swear.
Anything would help. Now, but I mean, you could just find some artist in either Winnipeg or Toronto and say, here are my stories. You sketch out the thing, and you just make it a graphic novel. And you take all the stories, of your drunk dad.
Scott Thompson did that. I'm looking at it now. He gave me a copy. He did it like 10 years ago called Hollow Planet, where he wrote a funny thing based on a character he did in our TV show, Danny Husk. And he did it. And I think it sold okay in a cult type of way. I think he only lost a little money. So, I mean, I could do that, sure. A chubby kid with a drunk dad.
Chubby kid with a drunk dad. Chubby kid and a drunk dad. Chubby kid with a drunk dad. Yeah, I mean, let's not tinker too much, but you're the comedian. You know which one is better. It's with a drunk.
Look, you're getting a percentage. Just sit back and laugh with the money rolling in.
Revenue streams.
Oh, so he went with. I would have made $200,000 more. Still, who cares? I'm making so much money. Keep doing it, Kevin.
Kevin, I'd rather have a small percentage of something than 100% of nothing.
Good. Didn't we ever say that before? That's good.
That's sales. So was there someone along the way, a teacher or a class or something you took where, that really, inspired you or really encouraged you?
Only in a negative way. Like when my theater arts teacher didn't like me, I thought, oh, she's wrong. Like it was mostly people. Well, no, my geography teacher, he was actually good. He helped me. It was people that weren't in theater and stuff that helped me more. Because remember once he asked me in class, I hate when teachers like volunteer you and they wanted to raise your hand. And there was some riot, something horrible that had happened in Kenya that week. And he said, "We're talking about Kenya, Mr. McDonald. I'm sure you read the news. What's going on there?" And I didn't know, so I said, "Well, they filmed Born Free," and everybody laughed. And he said, "Oh, that's very funny, but go outside." As I was in the hall. And then, but as I was going out the hall, he said to me, "That was very funny. I just have to send you on the hall." And then at the end of that year, he gave me like a 60, whatever it was, to pass, even though I didn't deserve it. And we went up to the desk, and he would give us our marks. And he whispered to me, "You should have failed, but I think your talents lie elsewhere, Mr. McDonald." And I thought, that's something I've never forgotten.
You know, I mean, that could be part of Chubby Kid with a Drunk Dad. I mean, I love
Oh,
that.
absolutely, when you think about it. Yeah.
I mean, I love the part where the teacher's like, "Now, that's all right. Go out into the hall." And then as you're going out, he's just like, "But that was funny." You know,
yeah.
I mean, they can just be one-page graphic, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. You're definitely getting a percentage.
I appreciate that, Kev. You know, I mean, anything helps.
That may be percentage of the losses. You may be like paying banks the money, but still, we'll take the risk. We'll take the gamble.
I'm a gambler.
Also, that I can tell that geography teacher, Mr. Collum, a few years after that, he ran for mayor of Mississauga, another suburb I was living in as a teenager. And I remember he broke the record for the lowest amount of votes. He got less than 10 votes. He got like 7 or 8 votes. He got less than 10 votes. And there was only 2 people running. And he got less than 10 votes. So maybe his maybe his thoughts didn't count for much. But I'll never forget that he said that your talents lie elsewhere, Mr. McDonald.
Your talents lie elsewhere, Mr. McDonald. That's great, man.
Yeah.
God, what? I mean, that is. Oh my God, I could talk to you for a long way. But you know, so who else do you think you can hook me up with? Can you hook me with any of the other kids?
Yeah. Let's start with Dave first.
You think Dave would do this?
I think Dave and Scott would do this. But let's go Dave first, because if he can't for some reason, it'll be no right away. 80% chance will be yes right away. Whatever it is, it'll be right away. Scott will say yes eventually, but make you go through hoops for months. So let's start with the easier one first, Scott.
Okay, what about the others, though?
Dave. I'm Dave. Yeah, we could. Bruce might do it.
Yeah.
Mark might even do it.
Shawn? What about Wallace Shawn?
I can hook you up with Wallace Shawn.
Because this show is the only, and it's not even a show. It's really just me talking to you on an old-timey telephone.
Do you remember that Wallace Shawn became friends with Bratz and the Crash Test Dummies? I know you threw out time the telephone.
Right.
And they became friends afterwards. They see each other every few months before the virus. Anyway.
Wow, that is Wallace in New York?
Yeah. I'll get my producers to. He probably won't remember me. I'll try to hook you up. That's more chancy. I'll try Dave and Wallace at the same time.
All right, that sounds cool. All right, I don't know how. Look, it's a conversation. I could talk to you for a long while, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Kip, thanks for doing
it. I should go back to my sketch now. This was nice, but let's not talk anymore. We've ruined it, and we're peaking. Like the virus in New York, hopefully we're peaking. So let's get off right now. I think that is a good instinct.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you taking my phone call. I'm glad you had time to talk, and I'm glad this wasn't a bad time to talk, you know.
It was a good time to talk.
I was here to listen, you know, brought to you by and the Pit, the People's Improv, brought to you by the People's Improv Theater, Fresca, and Lentils. Huh?
And the Pit will survive this, right?
Yeah, I hope. We'll see. At the end of the day, the Pit is bricks and mortar. But it's also a community of people, so we're doing online classes.
Good.
You know, we'll see what happens when the smoke settles and which spaces will survive. But, you know, we will keep going and keep finding ways to be of service. It's what I do, I guess. But, you know, talking to you helped today. Made me feel a little better because I've been down in the dumps.
Glad I could help a little bit. And we'll see. Dave Foley get you more in the dumps or get you better. And who knows? Wallace Shawn. You might be talking to Wallace Shawn. Who knows?
Well, why don't you do me a favor? Make a list of who you legitimately think I could talk to. And I don't want to put you out, but again, it's the virus, and
I will make a list. I will make a realistic list. Anyone lower than 50-50, because I think Wallace Shawn is 50-50. Anyone lower than 50-50, I won't put on the list.
Right.
But anyone 80%, like Dave, or over 50%, I'll put on the list.
Okay, and then I'll reach back out to you I'll call you at a different time. I'll text you first before I call you, of course. I wouldn't just call you out.
Always do that. Yes.
I would text you first and say, Kev, is this a bad time to talk? And then you can let me know yes or no, and then I'll call, and then we'll go through your list.
And there'll be a pause, and I'll say, are you there? And you'll say,
I'm here to listen.
Thank you very much.
Kevin, have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bless you for doing this. You are a good human being, a good soul, a funny, good guy, and you deserve nothing but the best that the world has to offer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Next time I see you, you can hug me and bite down on my shoulder if you need to. Just don't break the skin.
I'll never break the skin.
Okay, and I look forward to seeing a rough draft of Chubby Kid with a drunk dad.
You're getting a percentage. Profits or losses, you're getting a percentage.
I thank you, Kev. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Wow. That was Kevin McDonald of Kids in the Hall. And I just gave him a call, and using this app that I bought in the App Store called Tape a Call. And we talked for a while, and I guess that's the power of just like pushing through resistance and doing something instead of doing nothing, because right now I feel so powerless in the face of this global pandemic, and I'm one of the lucky ones. I can pull a deep breath still. I don't have family members who are sick that I know of. I'm not making funeral arrangements, and I get to call someone like Kevin McDonald, who is a funny, good guy, and talk for a chunk of time. So I feel grateful. And I think, love and gratitude have to be the tools I use, and hopefully we use, to get through the day when our minds go towards negative things and, we start catastrophizing. It's just, go back to gratitude. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for my legs. Thank you for a bathroom so close to where I sleep. Whatever it may be, because walking the streets of New York right now, you realize that this pandemic is revealing the inequities of capitalism and the flaws in the systems, because there are so many folks out on the streets right now who are down and out. They need water, they need food, they need showers, they need laundry facilities, they need someplace to sleep that's not outside. I've been trying to go to NYU Langone at 7 o'clock when I can to applaud the frontliners. And the first responders are applauding the frontliners. And last night, the frontliners were applauding the first responders, the fire department and the police departments and ambulance and whatnot. So, again, I don't know what this sound quality is going to be, whether it's worth it, who this is for. But I guess ultimately it was for me. I mean, I got to talk to Kevin McDonald, Kids in the Hall, for an hour. A silly little idea called, is this a bad time to talk? Or AKA, I'm here to listen. And I got to do it. So I feel very lucky. And again, I don't even know if this is still recording. I don't know what the quality is, but I thought, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And we got right into it. And he and I talked, and maybe Kevin got an idea with Joey Kid with a drunk dad. If I can, leave people, places, and things better than I found them, then, hey, it's not a bad goal to have. And I guess ultimately to leave people 1% better than I found them, it's a pretty good goal to have. So if you're still listening to this, I thank you for this. Stay healthy. If you're not healthy, get healthy. And once you get healthy, be grateful for your health. Come by the People's Improv Theater, thepit-nyc.com. Check out our website for classes online. And hopefully we will be up and running again soon at one of our bricks and mortar locations. So you can come and see live comedy theater and support the arts, however it may look in the post-pandemic world with social distancing and whatnot. Be well. Be kind to yourself. Be empathetic with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just do the best you can for as long as you can. All right. Sweet dreams, or have a nice day, or have a nice afternoon, or be well, or carry on. Stay calm or keep calm and carry on. You've been listening to Is This a Bad Time to Talk? AKA, I'm Here to Listen with Ali. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to Global Comedy Studios. Is this a bad time to talk? Stay tuned for more.